I will be solo casting this one. I didn't really have time to notify anybody else, and I'm just kind of hoping that everything is going to work well because I jumped into this just as fast as I could.
Levels of aluminum found.
All right, we have a huge amount of aluminum and iron just revealed immediately as this map's popping out. Both players really kind of honing in on that. I'm hoping the lag isn't too bad for either of them. I shouldn't be doing anything that'll be interfering. York taking his time to very carefully place his headquarters, I assume. Getting a lot of aluminum grabbed up, or getting his positioning just right so he can get that high aluminum tile right next to him. He's got decent steel production coming down, while DeftMunky wanted to poke around the map a little bit more. Didn't really see anything that caught his eye, so he's just going to throw down on the remaining iron and take some of the high aluminum off to the side. Also going ahead and planting a steel mill. This is an exceptionally common opener for an expansive. 1 iron mine, 1 aluminum mine, 1 steel mill. Not my personal preference, but certainly something I've seen people make work. York with a very, very standard scientific opener, just securing that high aluminum tile and a couple of steel mills.
I've never seen such elegant use of funds.
Very fast upgrade for York. He seems to know exactly what he wants to do, and he's just flying through it as fast as he can. DeftMunky, on the other hand, he's not working quite so hard. He's not pushing quite as hard, it looks like. You can see he still has that carbon saved up. He still has that silicon saved up. He's not really sure which one he's going to want at this point. He's letting his iron kind of build up a bit. And I don't know, he could be waiting for black market to open and maybe push for a quick purchase on that early claim, but I think he'll likely just be pushing for that upgrade just like York did. He's just running a little bit behind at this point.
Freelance pirates are auctioning their
Alright, a pirate auction to start off the game this time. For anyone who doesn't know, auctions do pop up at the same time every day, and that's as night is coming. York just taking those away for $1,000. I guess DeftMunky just isn't too concerned about anything that could be pirated at this point. I'm hoping that lag isn't being an issue for these guys. It really shouldn't be. My issues should all be resolved, but unfortunately I'm having to host just to ensure that I can spectate. I don't really want to bother these guys too much in the game, but early on, while they're just kind of thinking things through and looking at the map. Anyway, that's all taken care of. Okay, if York is having no lag issues, then I'm not going to be causing any problems here, so we're all good on that front. We've got 3 steel mills down for York. Shouldn't be any surprise whatsoever. He is holding off on those last 2 claims. Not really sure what he wants to do with them. He does have some options. We've got this high water tile that could be extremely valuable to take away. We've got a wind tile that apparently is what he's decided on. He wants this wind aluminum tile. But we also have things like these couple of medium carbons. Carbon's very, very sparse on the map. And we have only a very little bit of silicon. I see 3 here. I see 3 here. And I think I see 1 more up here. And that's it. So 7 silicon tiles and something like 4 carbon tiles. Those could be very valuable if this game keeps going on for too long. DeftMunky immediately, when he upgraded, grabbed this high water pump. I think that was a very good call. I think York should have done that quite some time ago. Because even though he's scientific and he doesn't need the high water tile, denying it to his opponent can certainly be a fantastic thing.
Most optimistic projections.
Let's see, where did York? He is establishing electrolysis along this water, so they're just getting all up in each other's faces right now, which is hilarious to me. And York has 2 claims left, DeftMunky also sitting on 2 claims, so both of these players have some options. I find it very interesting that they haven't actually decided where they want their tiles, because they seem to be waiting to be able to actually put down the building instead of just sending out the claim individually. Now, York, it very much looks like to me like York is headed for slant drilling, because he has positioned his food in a very strange fashion, kind of just on the tip of that water, and still very much in the way, and he doesn't have a lot of water left. There aren't a lot of water tiles, and so he may want that slant drilling to ensure that he's got access to all that water to power his farms and reactors he's committed to.
5,000.
Nanotech auction is also very interesting. No claim auction coming up yet in the first 2 days, which I think is well worth noting.
10,000.
We'll see what happens with this. I think this 10,000 is actually a fairly reasonable amount, potentially to spend on nanotech. My primary concern with it is that with nanotech, generally it gets better and better and better the later the game goes. And single player games, just 1v1s, generally are very, very short, comparatively. And so it's a little bit harder to get the full value out of nanotech in a 1v1 situation. Let's see. We can check on what York is working on now. He is going for that slant drilling that I was talking about. It is goon squatted. It is protected. DeftMunky is not going to be able to stop that from happening. So York has basically managed to secure himself that slant drilling.
Pirates. I hate those.
There are the
filthy
pirates
bastards.
that took so long to come out. And you can see York is going to get some fantastic value out of those pirates. He was very, very patient with them. And he's just going to be grabbing up this $70 silicon from DeftMunky and completely cutting off his primary source of income at this point. DeftMunky, I believe, has been purchasing some claims. I think that's why he has quite as many as he does right now. Maybe one claim purchase each. Hard to keep track of that with the observer mode. And he has committed to spending this silicon on a solar panel. Very, very fortunate for DeftMunky that there's been a silicon shortage. Now, obviously, York is going to be getting some of this silicon due to piracy, but DeftMunky is going to have that consistent silicon income, and he's actually securing that even more. York's going to have a hard time moving into it, and DeftMunky will be able to make money off of this for a very long time, which is very nice to see for him. Another solar panel coming down, certainly a good idea. Both players have been leaking power for a long, long time, and you can see that starting to build up in their debt. DeftMunky with 35,000, York up to 52,000. A lot of that going to be due to the nanotech. Oh, that pirate noise. It's my least favorite noise in this whole game. It just needs to be quieter. It just needs to be quieter, and then it'll be all right, in my opinion. Slant drilling should be finishing up. Oh, there it is. Slant drilling just finished up. We'll have to see if York's going to do anything else with that patent lab, or if he's just going to let it sit there, maybe turn it into a hacker array or a pleasure dome on that tile. Both very, very nice things to do, especially because he has that nanotech patent as well, and can very easily get that high-value glass back and maybe commit it elsewhere. We do finally see an aggressive black market action this game, around the same time this claim auction comes up.
4,000, 6,000, 7,000.
We'll just wait and see how high this goes. This could easily, I think, get up to 12,000. Very, very easily, possibly even higher. York has to be very careful about this, though, because York already has all that debt. His stock price, you can tell, is not very high. So DeftMunky can certainly afford to spend more on that claim than York can, and he took advantage of it. Pirates shouldn't have too much silicon theft left to do. York's sitting on about 100. Maybe they have 100 to go. Depends on exactly how much he's sold, how much he was sitting on when they started, things like that. But they should be finishing up their job fairly quickly.
Our growth is surpassing my most optimistic
York with another
projections.
upgrade. Very interesting. Still not doing anything with this patent lab. This is something that I'm very concerned about with a lot of players. You can see they've got this patent lab down, but they're not using it. They're not doing anything, which is a bit of a concern. Food getting surplus. That's another unfortunate thing for York. He's committed to this food tile. It's not getting anything done, really. If it were a water pump, he'd be a lot better off right now, and that's going to be a bit of a problem. Let's see, looking around the map, York's still sitting on 3 claims, hasn't decided completely what to do with them. Looks like he wants to certainly get down some more reactors and take advantage of that, rather than going for a little extra steel, which is maybe what I would do right now. DeftMunky, on the other hand, he's sitting on 3 claims as well. Looks like he's going to be heading into some glass production. Quite understandable, as silicon is finally tapering off, and glass is remaining very, very valuable, and DeftMunky has already secured quite a lot of silicon income that he's going to need to do something with. Solar panels doing very nicely during the day. Plenty of power coming in for DeftMunky. You can see he's making good solid 300 a second away from his debt at the moment, whereas York is actually having to pay for power. His own wind turbines not being particularly effective, even with adjacency bonuses, still generating less than 2 power between them. And he's gobbling all that up very effectively. Carbon scrubbing is coming in for York, so he has probably identified that carbon is potentially going to be very expensive, very difficult to get a hold of this map. And he might want to be able to make something like electronics, like chemicals. So he's going to be working on that. York has secured his own glass production, which is very, very good. He has the oxygen production to make it happen, and of course he has the slant drilling to allow him to be effective with just this single silicon tile. Steel mill is getting turned off, not too surprising. Steel, a very, very strong commodity right now at $94, but steel mills themselves are very power heavy, and York is running quite light on that. Not really sure about his wind turbine positioning.
Bidding will begin now.
Another claim auction. Is this really going to go for 5K? Okay. York's kind of scared about his debt. You can tell. He is not at all happy about where his debt is, but he realized you can't let a claim go for that cheap. And so now it's just a game of chicken. If I were DeftMunky, I'd have let that go for 18. Make York eat that. Make him deal with that debt. Knock his power out and just kill him from there. Could have been a very interesting play. Instead, pushing it up to that 20,000, he valued the claim a little bit more than his opponent's racking up debt. Understandable. You can do more with a claim. A little bit less risky in its own way. Let's see. What do we got here? This looks like... I'm not sure what this is. A steel mill, probably? No, an ice condenser. That's what it is. All right. So DeftMunky wanting even more water income. Understandable. Water is up at a good solid $90. And unfortunately, his reactors are still running. His steel mills are still running. These are almost certainly costing him money right now. In terms of power in particular. Cost an insane amount of power to be running these reactors and steel mills. 0.3 apiece. So between them, these 4 tiles are going to be costing DeftMunky 1.2 power. That's ridiculous right now. That's over $300 in power just on these tiles. York, on the other hand, he has identified, he still has his steel mills turned off, having identified the insane price of power. And that dust storm might help him out in this situation. You can tell this dust storm was huge. A lot of things going right for both players and just having random effects that really boosted both of them. DeftMunky kind of noticing that York is getting real scary and his own debt has built up tremendously. So he's gone ahead and he started going after York. He had a big stockpile of money. He was hoping he could make a bit of a run, but unfortunately for him, it came a little too late. This dust storm completely wiped out York's debt and is simply working to add debt to DeftMunky. On top of that, York has frozen DeftMunky's power generation. He knows where he's at this game. He knows what's going on. And he's really going to be pushing for the kill before too long. Yes, we do see a Pleasure Dome. Once again, this is just another building from DeftMunky that is going to be losing him money. It is currently losing him $200 a second in debt. Not a good thing at all. His debt's already spiraling out of control. 183, 184. We just keep counting. York should have this wrapped up momentarily. DeftMunky completely knocking himself out of the game with all this debt. We should see a buy before too terribly long. York making just ridiculous amounts of money on power. There's really not much more to be said. 1.4 a second on power alone. Sorry, 1.4K a second. And there's the buy. Strong game from York. He got it done. He had goals. He stuck to them. He just made it all work for him. I was a little bit nervous about his power generation in the early game, but he kind of shored that up when it was necessary, when power kept going out of control. He attacked his opponent's power, and let's say he did get a little bit lucky with that dust storm. It came at the right time. It really helped push him to the end. I don't think he needed it, but it certainly helped get the game done faster. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at resources. York auto-selling 175,000 in power. Just completely ridiculous. That is where he ended up making most of his money after he committed fully to it. Not a big surprise, considering it only took 100 seconds at the rate he was making money to make that much. DeftMunky, on the other hand, auto-purchasing a lot of power. Power's the name of the game this time. For a long time, it looked like DeftMunky was in a really great spot, but he just let power get out of control, let himself get EMP'd out, didn't transition those reactors into solar panels, didn't shore up his power anywhere, and it certainly caused problems.